everyone. Thank you so much for coming. We are overwhelmed by the responses, so thank you so much, and I apologize for the people who have to stand and sit on the floor. I hope the session will make it up to you, and I'm sure it will. My name is Yan Yan. I'm from the Singapore Economic Development Board. It's my pleasure to be here with you, and I would like to introduce my moderator, Bettina, who is publisher of Vogue, as well as co-founder of Brytehall. They have been our most excellent partner, helping to put together this NFT exhibition. After the session, I do hope that you'll have the time to take a look at the artworks. Just a word of caution, we are selling out, so if you do want to make a purchase, the time is now, and we'll be gone after today, okay? So Bettina, over to you, please.
Yes, thank you, Yan Yan. We are really overwhelmed. We actually thought yesterday there will be 5.5 people, we can have a nice chat, but this is great. So my first question is, who is from a brand? Can you raise the arms? Which industry? Are we speaking about fashion? Yes, very good. Do we speak about lifestyle? Yes, very good. Do we speak about tech industry? Of course. Yeah, all right. Tech is the key word. I want to introduce my panel fellows here. Please meet Belle B and Bernard Toll.
Hi guys.
Belle is from BuzzAR and Bernard is from Brytehall, a marketplace at the intersection of art, fashion and culture. So we are here today to discuss this wonderful topic, Reimagine brand experience in the Metaverse. So starting with a definition, as always. When we speak about Metaverse, what do we really mean when it comes into context of our industries, and we are in lifestyle industry? Web3 obviously is the discussion about technology and the blockchain integration, the tech side of things, while the Metaverse is a little bit of a different discussion. It's the discussion about culture. Why? Because we are building new spaces where we interact, where we create different memories and experiences, and this will have a direct impact on the way how we decide to spend our times in the future. So do we spend 1 hour or 5 hours in the Metaverse, and what kind of feedback this will have and impact this will have on our lives, our real lives. So it's a cultural conversation, and therefore a conversation about values and where we want this space to develop in the future. And how can we bring in brands, and how can we bring in us as being active parts of these new journey. So I'm quite thrilled because Belle had a very good idea for this talk. She says, like, let's break it down to 3 fundamentals. And I think it's always good to have clarity. So it's about people, it's about places, and it's about products. And Belle, you are obviously, creating avatars. And when we speak about people and interaction in the Metaverse, avatars are crucial. So maybe you give a little bit of a background about what you do and what kind of difference in experiences will we see because of avatars coming into the occasion.
Yeah. Hi everyone, I'm Belle. Thanks for coming here, listening to us. I'm so excited to share our journey with you. So I run a company called BuzzAR. We are based in Singapore. Our global audience is everywhere, so I'm really glad to see everyone, like all of you. We call ourselves a Metaverse startup, and what it means is that we built games since 2013, VR since 2015, and we also went into AR sometime in 2018. Developed digital twin avatar engine sometime in 2020. So this year is a big year for us because we are obviously rolling out the avatar, the Facebook avatar.
Just look in the back, yeah, exactly.
So you basically can turn your face into avatar almost in real time. And we are rolling out a mobile app, so you can basically edit yourself, dress yourself up, play a little dress-up game. And I think why we are even doing this is really to tell everyone, Metaverse is not like a far away destination, but you can be immersed in this connectivity, which connect every one of us. And basically, that's what we want to do and bring joy to everyone. I think previously, for the past 2 years, COVID had been a bit stressful for us. So our solution has been surrounding the fact that we can create joy to us, bring happiness to your daily life. So feel free to give me some feedback. It's a beta version, it's not the best, but we are improving every day. And how I see Avatar play a bigger role is that Avatar is really not just a cartoonish version that you have seen. It's an extension of yourself. It's how you can express yourself. And one person can have different digital identities of yourself. And personally, a little bit about my journey, I practiced as a lawyer before I even venture into a metaverse space. And I just want to encourage everyone that this topic is definitely not too deep for anyone. So if a lawyer can change her career, took a master's program back in 4 years ago, started this little AR, VR company, really just from the dorm room. I'm fortunate to meet my co-founder, who had Ken, who started his gaming company 10 years ago. And we merged the two companies into one company, creating a lot more happy products for everyone. So yeah, please feel free to give us some feedback. I think that avatar space is changing, is a fast-changing space, and we hope to collaborate a lot with partners like Brytehall, with even like Web2 people to co-create this. Thank you.
Now, Bernard, to you, obviously, we speak about the people. We speak about the marketplaces and the places that are evolving in this space. So you create a very interesting offer. Can you give us a little bit more of a background, what you do?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Bernard. Very happy to be here. Thrilled to see everyone so passionate about, the metaverse. Like what Belle has mentioned, it's actually not a far away place, right? So it's just another dimension for storytellers, creators, brands, budding artists, right? Extra space to express themselves. And from user perspective, is another anticipating layer for them to expect a new layer of narratives that's being told. Right, so the journey of Brytehall, we started this platform with Bettina, I think exactly almost 1 year ago. So our mission and our passion is always to find utility for digital assets. Now and then it was NFT, but we kind of have understand more a little bit more on the Web3 environment. It's not just a piece of digital art asset now, right? We talk about the utility. We talk about the different experience. We talk about fascinating displays in the metaverse, right? So the more we get into the space, right, the more we dig in to find different utility, even from business perspective for brands, right, to find different way of brands communication and different ways that you can extend product messaging, right? Not, for example, it's just for, let's say for a t-shirt, right? So in real life, you wear a t-shirt, right? But in the metaverse, it can have another life of the t-shirt, right? You can have wings, with camera filters, right? You can have a message that you want to propose to your wife, for example, when you take Instagram picture, right? So essentially, it's another layer of inventory space, right? For us to say what you want to say, right? And for us to build business model around it. Yeah. And then everything ties back to the marketplace. We build space for assets to be displayed, to be experienced. At the same time, we started with a marketplace to sell them to begin with. And right now, Brytehall is going into another phase where we want to build more exciting. I wouldn't want to use the word space so much, but it's really to create more experience for end users. Right, put it that way, I always like to create the product from users' perspective. What would I expect, right, when I logged onto a landing, right? What do I see, right? So To be honest, in the metaverse, sky is the limit, right? It's really up to us, right, to interpret how art can be displayed, how brands can be, to build business around the space, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, just for your information, obviously we've been partnering up with EDB, and we are presenting today this collection of NFT artists, and they are a combination of British and Singaporean artists. You can see their artwork over there, and then on this little screen in the back you see what Bernard was referring to. This is a different way of presenting the artwork. It's in an immersive space. We partnered up with Spatial, and there you can build your avatar first and then go to the gallery, visit the gallery, and it's not only you. You can invite everyone here in the room. So, and this is the beauty of the metaverse space. So it's interoperable. It is, you know, like a gathering, a social platform. And so if you have time afterwards, would be great if you visit. You can actually as well claim your PO app. Everything over there is, you know, there's a description to it. From my perspective, because we spoke about people, we speak about spaces, right? Products. And as Yan said, my background is rather traditional, so I come from publishing, legacy publishing, so to say. So as a publisher of Vogue, we've been quite challenged, you know, to integrate new experiences into our editorial routine. And when I got the opportunity to launch Vogue 2 years ago in Singapore, you remember, that was the time of the pandemic. And suddenly, so on my business agenda, I had the task do the launch for Vogue, but I have all of this was just not happening. I had no in real life communication. There was nothing of that possible. So of course we started to reinvent. We started to look into different technology that we can integrate to build a product that can reach a big audience. And this is what we've done. For launch, we have almost reached out to 13 million people. And the network is very, very strong. So we are 27 publications all over the world. And if we act in sync, we can reach over 1 billion people. So there's a lot of opportunities, obviously, and we are looking into new concepts moving forward. And one of the products that I wanted to share with you, and probably if I can ask the tech team to show the little movie, is our September issue that we've done last year. Let's see if it will work. Yeah, it sounds like something is happening. Tech, as always, tech. Okay, so the idea was maybe before. Oh, does it work? Yes, we are part of the process. I love this. In technology, it's always being part of the process. So the 30 seconds is actually part of sleepless nights and a lot of gray hair, because to bring this together was really a very, very different experience, as you can imagine. We teamed up for the September issue, and if you know a little bit about the importance of the September issue, that's the issue in the fashion year. Everyone is looking at what is happening in September. Anna Wintour was giving us a theme for all 27 Vogues, which was called The New Beginning. And each and every Vogue around the world should interpret this new beginning in their own way. in each of the markets differently. There was one common theme, which was a rising sun, and like a timestamp of when the sun actually is rising. So we sat together and we thought, like, okay, what are we going to do? And the answer was NFTs, because we integrated technology from the very beginning when we launched, and we wanted to continue this journey and obviously be trending and having an experience that is very, very different. So instead of having a model or a VIP on the cover, we had NFT artists on the cover with an over-dimensional QR code. So instead of a nice face, you see a code, which is very, very unusual for a fashion magazine. And when you scan the code, you actually enter into the portal and you see the covers that we have just seen here in the little movie. We have produced 12 NFTs, and these NFTs have been related to the different sections: lifestyle, beauty, and as well fashion. The collection then was sold on OpenSea. Oh, yeah, that's empty spaces. The collection was then sold on OpenSea. And since then, we have integrated this into our business routine. So it's not something that is a one-off, but the NFT collections, the building, the obviously integration of new talents into the discussion was and is like a very important, fundamental for us to move forward. So the integration into storytelling in our business is key. We have a Metaverse editor. We are having an NFT strategy with a subscription. We are helping our Club Vogue members to build their collections. And we are moving on in terms of helping our brands and our partners to come into the space. So it is a long-term strategy, and it will mean that because we are a small Vogue, so to say, they let us do all these experiments, and we got all the backup from Singapore. Everyone was very excited. So it's a very new space and a good opportunity for us to, create new experiences. So we are, sorry, it was very long, but I just wanted to show you a case of how this is already integrated in our daily routine, so it's not something that is just a one-off. We are at a tech week, and obviously technology plays the most important role in this discussion. So when we speak about Metaverse and these kind of projects, what is the biggest threat and challenge?
It's probably natural to me because I'm legally trained. So I think that the biggest challenge, one of them lies with the digital identities. As we are creating so much of avatars, I also question myself, like 2.2 million avatars have been generated using our system. So what we did was that we auto-delete it immediately after the user ends the session. But I know we are the only few that have really make sure, like, immediately after the user ends the session, we delete it. Partly because we are a really small company. To keep all of them is really expensive. But I think from that perspective, because so much content is just being generated every day. And as much as I want to say, like, all my peers are really taking good care of it, we know that this could be a threat. And that's why I'm being a bit weird in my country. I actually wrote to IMDA, so it's the governing body in Singapore that governs data, IPs, content. I wrote to them and I told them, I want to collaborate with you. Why don't there's no laws that govern all this yet. Why don't we co-create the protocol, the code of conduct surrounding the content creation? Because next, we are going to roll out this dress-up game that we give a tool to all creators to create all kinds of 3D content that you want. As much as I'm like on another hand that keep generating tools, I'm also trying to make sure like on the flip side, we are taking care of the laws, the regulations, the code of conducts. So to me, that is one of the most alarming threats.
Sure. Bernard, for you?
I wanted to speak more on legal stuff, but I've got a lawyer sitting beside me, so I better not. I think IP governance is really a big threat. Be it NFTs, space, avatars. Sometimes it's really great. Get inspired by maybe the hair, maybe the furniture, and then you create something new that looks actually like maybe a branded item. So that is given. It's something that especially in a let's say in a DAO community or in Web3 environment where we kind of decentralize all the IP rights for creators to come in, right, to share ownership, to share monetizing models. So content governance is, I think, one threat, right? That we are trusting the end users to know what is real and what is not, right? So it's going to be a long process, to be honest, right? To have a very healthy ecosystem and to get users to understand not all is real. You need to curate yourself, right? So right now, we like Brytehall. One of our mission is really curation, right? We want to represent the creators well. We want to represent brands that's dropping something with us well. That everything that comes through us is real, right? Is the authenticity is there. So in the Web3 space is the same. So Metaverse is the same. That increasingly we are leaving this decision and this trust, right, to the end users. Maybe in a few years' time. I think that should be the mentality of not trying to be overprotective about your IPs, but you gotta be a little bit forgiving in front, right? And then I hope through education, through content consumption habits, people get to learn and people get to get wiser. And when they invest in any purchase, digital purchase, right, they know what to do, right? So that is one threat, IP. Second threat is a little bit more technical. That I believe a lot of fantastic concepts about Metaverse, high fidelity stuff. Some countries, in fact, most of the country, right, the network infrastructure and maybe even devices doesn't really support some ideas, right? For example, if you want an avatar, right, with like great tones, animation within the avatar to be high performance, right? Conceptually, it works, it's wonderful on the pitch deck, but we know that with the device that we have, the network that we have, Wi-Fi, sometimes it just doesn't work. So in terms of developing such environment, there's a lot of back and forth, right? The creative director will say, no, guys, we got to do this, right? No, this is already in the market. We need to, be better, right? But and then the CTO is going to say, hey, dude, right? This is not doable even in the next 3 years, right? So it's always trying to, the wrestle is there. It's trying to find the middle ground and the comfort spot to launch a product, right? So I think tech, in terms of that, is a challenge.
Oh, by all means. Being at this experience, I can tell you we've been obviously used to a different pace, and we are used to a deadline management, which is really on spot. With tech, you never know. And this is the first thing. So my advice for everyone who wants from a legacy business into Web3, you need a lot of yoga and relaxation and meditation. Honestly, this is challenging. That's the biggest challenge. The tech
everything
part,
seems to be like ×3 or ×5 the pace.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we grew older, across the year as well, 5 times.
But seriously, I think for brands, it's of course like a challenge because it's affecting each and every level of your company. If you want to go into Web3, you need to make sure that it's not just creative teams, because the creative teams, they are super excited about it. Logically, because you are beyond like the physical world. You can be crazy with your ideas. But when it comes to business, then you have to integrate your entire company. So it's from the legal to accounting to sales to human resources. How do you make sure that the team that you have, that you bring them into this new space? What kind of education do you need? What kind of additional knowledge transfer do you need? So there are yes, I see already.
Yeah, I was going to pass out, so I thought I'd ask a question.
Yes, sure.
No, I'm kidding. So one of the things that I'm seeing is lots of multiverses opening up across the layer 1 blockchains, right? Do you think for Metaverse to succeed, do you need interoperability amongst those multiverses?
From my point of view, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, otherwise it's going to be very silo, decentralized experiences that we don't want. I think the biggest issue that we have with Web3.
But right now, the layer 1 blockchains they're not.
No, they are not there. That's true.
So you're talking potentially multiple-year journey.
It depends on the technical people here. Guys, speed up. We want to have all this interoperability and really give our readers, our community, different experiences. I think it's beautiful. What we have the foundation. Now it's like a step-by-step approach of what is really doable. And I think there is a transition. Potentially, we need to speak not about Web 3, but we should speak about Web 2.5. A bridging where we take the best of 2 and the best of 3 and combine it at this very moment. Now I lost my my idea what I wanted to ask. Yes, I wanted to ask about the benefits of Web3, because if you are trying to get into the space, then you obviously want to understand what are the positive sides of the build.
I think there are a lot of positive sides. Just to state our company as an example. So as a group, we started the gaming arm back in 2013. Then we merged the company last year. And what I realized in the Web3 space versus like Web 2, generally Web3 people are a little bit more forgiving. Because they understand that this is an evolution. Things are moving, and a lot of the power is returning back to the community. That's why, as a whole, we feel like we are all into this. Not like, as opposed to like a centralized company, you feel like you have to get this fixed. If not, you are like out. But Web3 is more like, as a whole, we are all doing this together. So the mindset shift is the biggest advantage to me.
Yeah, exactly. What Belle is saying is that we tend traditional businesses, right? Web 2 businesses, we tend to take a lot of responsibility to deliver at the highest level, right? But because of tech and limitations, right? The good thing about the Web 3 environment now, the budding community in the space, is that everyone is more forgiving. Everyone wants to do it together and to be part of the evolution. So that is the fun, actually the fun element about, this transition between 2 to 2.5 and then to 3, right? And in terms of, for brands, right, I find it's very, very intriguing and interesting that the very traditional Web 2 marketing communication, right, you can, just mirroring that logic, you can actually utilize the community, right, from B to C, and then the power of C to C, I think is very powerful, right? The word of mouth and how they can pull their, the community together, right, to market, right? And be it in a physical metaverse space, right, or just experience. I thought that is, again, I'm saying, really sky is the limit.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the key words when we speak about Web3 and about Metaverse, obviously, is community, because we are building and we have to build communities to be successful. And if we think about brand building, a brand like Vogue in Web3, it's all upside down. It's reversed. The success of a brand is not because you are Vogue and you have a tradition of 128 years. It's about, do you connect with the community? Do you understand the community and do you bring value to this community? And the community actually decides if you will be a successful brand in Web3 or not. And that's the big difference. And I think that this shift in thinking for entrepreneurs, for decision makers, this needs to happen now, because you cannot do this in in no time to build this community. And there are different tools now we have, besides Discord and Twitter and Spaces and so on. It's a whole different ballgame, and it's a very challenging, add-on component to your business routine. Because besides all the platforms that we are already communicating and producing content, you have a whole new level of engagement. And this will need new talents. This will need really the biggest threat for me is that we don't have talents at the moment in this space. This is so difficult. I would love to hire more people with Web3 understanding, mentality, with a mentality of, not sitting back and expecting everything, but just being in there, being engaged, and really having this entrepreneurial spirit. Very, very rare. And especially in our life, in the lifestyle section or area industry, it's really something that is a big concern. So I believe everyone who has already this experience is opening their own companies right now. So we need to wait for the next, right? We need to wait for the next generation to actually want to come back to us and say, yes, okay, I'm in. Very, very different in terms of how we build businesses in the future. And if there is a talent and interest, please contact us. We will be very happy to have a discussion. I think we should open up the discussion now. Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really fascinated. I think I was extremely lucky because I actually did my PhD, like 10 years ago in the Metaverse, world's first Metaverse, Second Life.
All right, we have to speak.
And I remember at that time, I feel really, really lonely because I started my research in 2006. And when I tell people that I'm going to do a PhD in the Second Life, they said, you're crazy. It's only a game, and you're completely wasting your time. But I was very lucky to get full scholarship. And I did the digital
Congrats.
degree in the construction simulation, followed my master in using Second Life to augment universities' international strategy. So that's very interesting. So I don't need to have a traditional background, but I can jump from bachelor in English into master in journalism and a PhD in civil engineering because of Metaverse.
Yeah, true.
So I think there will be tremendous opportunity for all kinds of opportunity for people to reskill, because we're talking about lots on the talents, how to reskill, but actually Metaverse can be the perfect place. You don't need to have engineering background or IT background. You can be the next Metaverse, master. So my question is, how could we educate the many, many millions of people around the world so they might have the opportunity to change their life and tap into this 1.5 trillion US dollars Metaverse economy in the next 10 years?
That's a very good question. Is there a question? Is this related?
It's related, yes.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So we're talking about building the metaverse, and it's important that we understand that we don't need a billion pounds to build the metaverse. There are technologies out there for 3D, which is a procedural software that will generate 3D models procedurally, endless for the metaverse, and very cost effective. The avatars can be generated procedurally, even the terrain. So it's important that every single brand can have metaverse, and it's possible. We need to bring down the conversation that there is a lot of technology out there when you guys can create amazing metaverse at a very low cost. And I think the education part of it is what we need to open the conversation and raise awareness. Yeah. So it's not that expensive as everybody thinks. We just need to find out the right technology and integrate it to it.
Yeah, I believe when we come back to the educational part, right? So it's important, especially for media, such as Vogue, that we are taking on this task, obviously, to inform, to interact with the new generation so that they are learning more about what is possible. But I agree, we need education and universities, we need education from the start when kids are entering schools. And for those who are in the system, of course, we need second education because we don't want to be left out, right? So I'm almost I will start my pension soon, but still now I'm challenged with this whole situation, which is absolutely beautiful. It's a fantastic new opportunity, especially for creative people. So moving forward, our job will be to create the metaverse, to make it more user-friendly, to make it more accessible for brands. We didn't speak about brands actually too much. So the brands that are, of course, very cautious because they are afraid that they make a mistake. So each and every move of a brand comes with very cautious, thinking, because they don't want to spoil what they have built before. But here again, education is key to offer them, almost like pathing the way to this new world. And it's part of us, to be part of this conversation. It's a cultural conversation. It's really a cultural conversation. And why is it a success? Just one more thought. It can be a success because if everyone is adapting it. So, and it will be good or not good just by the fact that we are in the metaverse, that we are operating in the metaverse. If we don't do this, if we all say we check out and we are not interested in it, then, we don't need to speak about all this. I have three actually. Yeah.
I want to know what you think the impact of regulation will have, especially in the light of bad actors. Because bad actors have been ruining what we
The entire space, yeah.
the entire space. And it has a real potential of becoming the dark web of. And so I just want to know, what are we doing to prevent that? Do you think regulation will help?
We have a lawyer, so probably.
Thanks for the questions. So,
Do we have a solution?
Not yet.
I'm like in between because my major is exactly law and technology. So I think this is a very interesting question. But if you think about it, the big picture is that regardless of Web 2 or Web 3, there are bad actors. Yeah. Whether it's more in Web 3 or not, then I will leave it to the expert, like all the statistics, all the regulatory body. But I think even though like the whole generation, I do believe, maybe I'm optimistic, I do believe that human consciousness as a whole, especially Web 3, with the fundamentals, it's about community driven. It's about everyone, it's about not having a centralized power to control us. Yeah, there are rotten apples, but as a whole, I do have the optimism to believe that we, as a whole, can fight this through. We can get through this. It's an evolution, it's not a single day job. So, yeah. And that's why I have all these avatars. I'm reaching out to a regulatory body. For Web3 per se, there's absolutely no need to reach out to the regulatory body, but I volunteer to reach out. It's almost like I volunteer to get caught by them, right? But, but one thing is about the Singaporean government is really very, very helpful. Second thing is, I believe that they are also part of the community. The government is also part of us. That's why we will do it together. Yeah.
There was another question.
Well, a lot's been answered. For 30 years, I've worked with brands and done activations and retail and events, and all with my own energy and money, unfortunately, but it's had various successes and failures. And when lockdown happened, instead of working on my muffins and cookies, I kind of went left and went into the metaverse and haven't looked back. And to me, it's an extension of the things that I've always done. So I have events, and it's been fantastic. But it's all off my own back. And the point where I am is that level of frustration where I see all these companies with enormous funding being set up. And because I've been really eager to do things for relationships and brands that I already know and work with, and I say, ta-da, look what I've created for you. And I've done, enormous events and built galleries and all that stuff in the Metaverse and bought headsets and done big shows. But there's a lot of brands that it scares the life out of them. So when you're talking about Web 2.5, that's really what I've encountered. I'm this kind of evangelical lunatic telling everyone and showing them photos like, it's been done, look, and no one wants to touch it, or it's not, they haven't got the infrastructure to support it, or they're not dealing with a very well-funded startup that everyone's talking about the emperor's new clothes, but they're not really doing anything. And so those are the challenges. And what's your view on those kind of scenarios where not everyone is a 20-person startup or working with a brand with enormous funding and infrastructure and millions of followers already, but how do those people make an impact?
Anyone from you guys?
I think, like, what Belle and Bettina has mentioned, I think it's part of a process, right? If you step out of the, the day-to-day and you really take a look from the vantage point, the sentiments about brands being very adamant about coming into the space, I mean, to be very, like, what the brands are afraid about is because of the bad reputation of, like, crypto, right, in general. Right away, it deters them of, this is scamish, right? So this is not the space that they want their legacy to be related to, right? Having worked with brands for, the past couple of months, pitching to them, right, to drop NFTs, to set up their Metaverse extension for the business, right? I think my approach to them is we need to look ahead, right? How the consumers will consume goods, right? Like our children, right? In 15 years' time, right? The traditional way from point A to point B might not work. Or I'm not discounting that, but it might not be as effective, right? So you need to understand and illustrate to them that in the future, right, it's all community-driven, right? What Belle has mentioned, of course, you have, the bad ships within the space, but the right fundamental mentality is that bravery, right, for the brand or the marketing person to trust their target audience. I think that has to be the starting point. If not, you will never start, right? And then, I think the next step is really to start something small, right? To start something that, they kind of try the environment, to try to drop something that's really small, catering to maybe like a smaller sector in their like marketing territory, and get used to being very proactive, about activations in the Web3, right? Because I think if you do it correctly, right, it's an add-on, like you mentioned. It will not, harm their general top line, right? Because in the space where the logistic planning is less stressful, right? The investment upfront is lesser. Hence, we don't really need to discuss so much about ROIs right from the start. It's really just to extend the branding, messaging at this point. I think that is their comfort level. Yeah. Because a lot of them, when they come into the space, the first thing they do is very interesting. They will tell us that, I'm not in to earn a quick one, right? Or I'm just coming in to experience the whole process. I want to do it for charity, for example. So it's always from a marketing perspective. Yeah. So likewise from, let's say, agency approach like us is consistent. So we kind of need to handhold them a little bit, right, for them to find the comfort level and to drop something very small first. Yeah. I hope that answers your questions. Yeah.
Yes, of course. And I see there's more coming up. So please, go ahead.
Okay, cool. So yeah, just to go off the back end of what you mentioned, you spoke about in terms of like building a team, right? You don't have the funding to do it. How do you go about it? Well, how I kind of want to buy it, because, okay, so my background is that I sell Metaverse property, so Metaverse real estate. Alongside that, I code. I have my own project that I'm building, which is based off entertainment. So we're trying to bridge the gap between partying and crypto. So building like an earning system, so once people can attend events and networking events, they're able to earn at the same time, right? For a staking system. And in terms of me building this team, going off the back of what he said, you go through trials where it gets really, really difficult as an early founder. How many early founders are there in here for projects at all? Any founders? Okay. So at the start, as you guys can imagine, you're all by yourselves, right?
Yeah.
On your own, you just had an idea, or just a model. But then after that idea, once you understood that, it was something solid, people started to believe in it, right? And I think it's just all about having that model that someone can actually believe in. And then you reach out to people, you can use anything. You can use Twitter, you can use Instagram, you can use Snapchat, use your Web2 resources in order for you to create that bridge for Web3. And that's exactly how I kind of built my team. And I've got a position now where, I've got affiliations with companies like Binance and, Spatial as well, which you guys mentioned.
Yeah, sure.
So, yeah, hopefully that helps you.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's a great comment. Yeah. so-
Maybe I didn't really answer your question in terms of,
Short answer. We are on.
working on like a small team.
Done.
I think the way to go in the space is really to have that collaborative spirit, right? Because in a space that is so fast-paced, you just need to be proactive and make sure that you collaborate with the right people and come up with to find some sparks and synergy to come up with another product, right? So to build a team, from scratch, you want to add on your CTO, your whatever C-suite, and then, your executives, it's really going to take time. So my approach is always to collaborate, right? And to make sure that it supports your product and then it hits your milestone in terms of roadmap.
There's another suggestion. Angels and VCs, they can help you.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, I've done it myself. And I've had big events, I've hired Samsung
Sure.
experience stores, I've done hybrid stuff, so I'll just keep going.
Sorry, sir.
I'm quite fortunate to be in the middle of most of you from very advanced markets. I'm coming from Africa. I work with a financial institution, and I'm still waiting for in markets and in industries that are very highly regulated, like banking and finance and insurance. If you go through the process and the barriers to entry in some of these spaces is more regulation. Talk to your central bank about doing something, they ask you, what are you smoking? So you look at the regulation is behind and players are way ahead in the market that comes out. So these are some of the barriers to entry that we also need in areas like Africa where you need to bring regulation up to date to understand the future of some of these things. Because most of the things you do, you're custodian of people's money and you want to enter Metaverse and have all these activations, and you ask them, what is Metaverse in the first place? They don't understand it. So regulation in other markets are quite tough. It's quite difficult.
Yeah, it is. It is. Last question.
Thank you so much. It's actually for Bill, I think. So my company is a startup, and it's medical concierge, and it's global. So I help people find healthcare procedures, wellness, cardiac, surgical, dental, etc., around the world. So for their electronic medical records, let's say somebody from the United Kingdom wants something done in Singapore, and I want to have everything done on the blockchain for them. And let's say that they go into a Metaverse space, they have the consult with the doctor in the Metaverse space, and then we'll get them out there to have the procedure done. Can the records, what's the legalities, I guess, for the doctor to accept the medical records from another country, to be able, is a public permission blockchain versus a private? I don't even know if I'm making sense right now, but as I'm trying to just put it together.
Yeah. May I know your name?
Andrea.
Andrea. Yeah. What I'm about to say is not a, I need to give all the disclaimer, but to the but to the best of my knowledge. So I studied blockchain at UC Berkeley. Right now, one of the use cases that I've seen is that it's a little bit different from yours. So what they do is they have all these faces that people went for plastic surgery and they cannot reveal their identity. So they didn't put it on blockchain. Is this a must that you have to put it on blockchain? Yeah, so that's the answer, because not everything needs to be on blockchain.
Right.
Yeah, so that's
Oh, I see this. I feel like in a French Revolution.
yeah. But we can talk about it. There are other solutions.
Thank you so much for attending this panel discussion. Thanks for all your input. Very, very nice to hopefully continue this conversation. If we sum it up, my advice for you, please start working on it if you haven't done it yet. It's very, very important because it takes time. Think about your community, think about engaging the team as soon as possible, and challenge yourself. And with this, a very good afternoon.